Hey, what's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. Before we get started, I would like to say thank you to everyone who clicked on this video. Also, thank you to all the great souls out there who have liked the video. I really appreciate it, being a small channel. Also, I would like to say visit vidmono.com if you are a content creator. It is my attempt to make a less restrictive YouTube or version of YouTube. Check it out. Now, in this episode, we have to analyze the moves of Daniel. Now, Daniel has been a player that I've tried my best to like. Believe me, I've tried. He was the first HOH. I've seen the archetypes of Daniel, or at least the archetypes that Daniel appears to be following, and it is not Dr. Will. I'm so tired of people using Dr. Will. Don't know. Daniel is no Dr. Will. Pooch is no Dr. Will. It's just not happening. But the point is, I've seen the player that he is emulating, and I've seen it done a lot better. I thought that him being the very first HOH worked very well in his favor, and um, putting up Taylor, who appeared to become the house target week after week after week. Typically, that bodes very well for the person who's an HOH. It means that you're not perceived to have gotten any blood in your hands. You didn't make any moves that were against the house. But I think where Daniel falls short is his social game. He doesn't go to Taylor and say, "Hey, I'm sorry," these type of things. He actually grills Taylor into the floor, which creates sympathy. And I think future seasons or future veterans of the game or future players will look back at Daniel's gameplay and say, that is the one player in BB history I don't want to emulate. And it begs the question, not only is his move bad, the move I'll be talking about in just a moment, but is Daniel Durston the worst BB player of all time? There have been a lot of bad moves in the Big Brother game. Trust me, there's been a lot of bad ones. And I think sometimes people get caught in the moment and they, say outlandish things like Daniel is the worst player of all time. I'm not sure that's true. I mean, obviously, he's not out the game, and he was smart enough to have placed Nicole a little bit higher than he is. So I'm not prepared to say he's the worst player ever, but I am prepared to say that he made the worst move in BB history, or moves even. And let's talk about that move. So if you don't know, in the last episode, Kyle, who is the festy bestie of Daniel, actually wins the veto. And if I'm Kyle, I'm throwing this competition for several reasons. So I don't have to be the one to take Alyssa down, which creates suspicion about my allegiance to Alyssa. Several other reasons. But if you let Indy win, then she can take herself down, right? And also, if Nicole goes home, which is like more than likely the case tomorrow on Thursday, when Nicole goes home, Daniel has no other choice but to not only look at himself as being responsible, but also Kyle, because Kyle won the veto that ultimately sent his bestie, or his real bestie, home. So what happens is Kyle wins the veto competition, could have easily thrown it. I'm sorry I keep getting hung up on that. It just bothers me that he didn't know that. But Kyle wins the veto over Indy, who is like a close second. Like, this would have been the most easiest competition to throw by far, but he doesn't do that. He wins, and then as a result, Monty does the smart thing, which is confer with everybody in the house and have discussions with everyone just to see where they all, where their heads was at. Smart move on Monty's part. I didn't think I would be, complimenting his game. I thought he was a really bad player at one point, but winning the HOH, and also some of the things I've seen, like putting up Alyssa and Indy, which I thought was a bad move initially, but now it's created so much chaos amongst everybody else that's not really aligned to Monty, that being Daniel and Nicole, that I have to say it was the right move. I stand corrected. But anyway, he does a great job with conferring with everybody in the house. And as a result, he talks to Kyle and Daniel. And one of the most surprising things I've seen in a little while when it comes to Big Brother, Monty is able to use reverse psychology on Daniel by saying, let's keep Alyssa and Indy up. And as a result, Daniel thinks that he's all knowing. He knows everything, right? Daniel thinks that Monty is trying to save Taylor because Daniel doesn't really know about the full Leftovers alliance. I mean, he's festy besties. He's tethered to somebody who is arguably one of the top 3 players in the Leftovers alliance, and he doesn't have a clue. And we have to just give Kyle just a moment of praise, because he's doing such an amazing job with his acting. How now, Brown Cow, Unique New York. He's such a great actor, and I think you really see that. He's right next to Daniel, and Daniel cannot pick up on the signs. I mean, In the last episode, you heard Daniel and Nicole talk openly about how they thought that Monty was full of crap. So, these people are obviously looking for signs about what's going on in the house. They are still feeling the aftershocks of the ameerah eviction. So they're looking for anything that these players will give them, like all being in the HOH room at the same time. But that's another story. But the point is, Monty does a great job with doing reverse psychology on Daniel. And because Daniel have these secret suspicions and he hates Taylor so much, it just is what it is. He's looking for anything and he finds it. And that it speaks to me because I'm one of those people as well. My brain is very creative, and it doesn't take a lot for me to just take narratives and just run off with them. And I think that's what happens here. Daniel finds just a slither of a little information in terms of, hey, you want us to keep the nominations the same? Why is that? And his quest for figure out the answer to that question leads him on a path that is completely off. And it could be arguably the worst move in BB history. So he goes back and he talks to Kyle and he says, hey, I think I understand what's going on. How about we take Alyssa and Indy down, which I'm assuming that Daniel thinks is going to earn him favor with Kyle because Kyle would obviously want to take down Alyssa as well. So how about we take down Alyssa and Indy, and as a result, we put up Taylor and Nicole. And of course, Daniel not really knowing about the power switch that has already taken place, has already shown him. I mean, you can't get any more obvious than the mirror going home when you thought you had the numbers there as well. So Daniel is not playing the game that he thinks he's playing. So he thinks that, hey, we got the numbers. We can save Nicole because he has no clue that the power has already shifted. And I give that credit to the Leftovers Alliance. They've done an amazing job of staying covert. I guess you can say I don't see how people are not connecting the dots, but within the circumference of the house itself, people are not making that connection. So you have to give them some credit, right? But if you're a viewer, you're probably screaming at the television. If you're on the Daniel and Nicole's side and you're rooting for them, you have to be screaming at the television right now saying, how do you not see this, right? We've all had that moment in the game. But Daniel convinces Kyle, and it doesn't take much convincing, obviously. So we leave the take Alyssa and Indy down and put up Nicole and Taylor. And obviously the thinking of Daniel was that they'll have the numbers to evict Taylor. And I also have to give Monty a little more credit because Monty has done an amazing job with keeping his intentions, at least visibly, focused on Taylor. He's still giving people the energy that Taylor is his number one target. Now, I'm not sure it's working as much as or as good as he thinks it is because you hear Daniel and Nicole call him out several times on this move being BS. But actions speak louder than words. So when he takes down, or I should say when Kyle and Daniel take down Alyssa and Indy, once that takes place, he does exactly what the house thinks he should do. If you're following the exact same structure and blueprint that everybody else who's won HOH has followed, which is target Taylor, if you do that, obviously you're following the blueprint. And because he puts up Nicole with Taylor, everything looks peachy. The only player that should have antennas rise outside of the Leftovers, of course, is Nicole. She has to be thinking to herself, I've seen this movie before. I've seen this. Wait, I've seen this before. I go on the block with someone who should go home. And I mean, Pooch. It happened with Pooch and Taylor. Who goes home? Everybody thinks it's Taylor. No, Pooch goes home. It happened again with ameerah and Terrence. Let's see who goes home. Ameerah goes home. So if you're Nicole, you have to be looking at the situation and saying to yourself, I've seen this movie twice and I don't want to see it again. And it's this point where I think that Nicole needs to maybe sever ties with Daniel. If nothing else, just do it visibly. Start making deals with Taylor. Go talk to Taylor. Go. Some of these players that are in the Leftovers Alliance are not strategic masterminds. Alyssa's doing a great job at it. Alyssa is drawing Kyle out piece by piece by piece, and she's doing it without really knowing he's even aligned to anything. So she's doing it blind. Nicole needs to have conversations with the following individuals. Monty, and when I say conversations, that means, look, I was wrong. She needs to have that kind of come to Jesus moment. She needs to humble herself. I was wrong about Taylor and how I treated her. Bring Taylor in the room. Nicole, Taylor, Monty. A conversation between those three individuals could actually change things because I'm not seeing a lot of allegiance to this Leftovers Alliance long term. You already have Michael starting to segue into another alliance, which is just like Michael just can't stay in an alliance. The Pose Pack, I mean, the Oasis, this guy's in everything. But if Nicole was actually serious about staying in the game, and if I'm Nicole, and it's easier to say as me not being in the house. But I would imagine that if I know there is no other way I can win, I'm going to go ahead and go for a Hail Mary play. It's like playing spades and you know you already lost. The team only needs 10 points to win. I'm going to just do a blind kneel. I'm gonna do a blind kneel, or I'm gonna bid kneel to see if I can let's see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, you lose, but that's gonna happen anyway. So go talk to Monty. Go see if you can create a freaking alliance with Taylor, for crying out. Do anything besides sit there and talk about how much you hate Taylor. But of course that will not happen. And here's why: because they have no idea about the leftovers. That's why it won't happen. It won't happen because Daniel is this man is just he hates Taylor. He does not. When I say he does not like Taylor, I've heard that there's been some talk on the live feeds about Daniel apologizing, but listen, he does not like Taylor. Taylor has already rubbed him the wrong way, and when you don't like somebody, it doesn't really matter what you do at that point. And I'm not buying the whole story of Daniel being this whole racist thing. Listen, when it comes to racist, it's I don't know. I just think it's such an easy tag to put on somebody. But what everybody seems to be completely ignoring is that Daniel is closely aligned to Nicole. Nicole is a brown woman. She's a minority, right? That's what they call them. So the point is, if Daniel was a true racist, he'll be hanging around Alyssa all day. He's not doing that, is he? He just doesn't like Taylor. I think once he gets evicted, I think he will. He'll easily be able to get past all this racist banter because he'll say, "Hey, this is my best friend. Probably gonna be a brown person." I think he just doesn't like Taylor. Am I saying that there's nothing there? Maybe a little bit, right? But the point is, I don't think it's so black and white. I think there's some gray there, and I think the obvious indication of that is the fact that he's best friends with Nicole. Nicole is what? I don't know. I didn't catch her ethnicity, but she's certainly she's I don't know. Help me out in the comments if y'all know what Nicole's ethnicity is. But the point is, he's best friends with her. He's actually like loyal to Nicole. He almost went to war for Nicole once Taylor told Nicole what she said. So obviously he's not a black and white racist. Like I just think that's too easy. That's too easy. No, it's more complicated with Daniel. Maybe he's had some experiences that's made him feel a certain way, but certainly I don't think it's black and white. But the point is, getting back on topic, did he make the worst move in actually trying to, well, actually, he didn't try to, he did. Did he make the worst move in BB history when he took down Alyssa and Indy in place of Nicole and Taylor, which will ultimately mean that for the second time, Daniel will play a hand in one of his alliance members or someone he's cool with going home. I mean, this is why I am saying that he did make the worst move in BB history, because I don't remember at any point in BB history where a player was responsible for two of his friends, aka / alliance members, going home. That being this might not have only been the worst move in BB history. This might be one of the worst moves in reality competition history. I've never seen anybody do anything like this in Challenge, Big Brother, Survivor. I've never seen a player get two of his own alliance members or numbers kicked out the game directly. This is unprecedented. And what's even worse is that Daniel is doing these things so arrogantly. He's not saying, "Oh, I was wrong about ameerah. Let me slow down. Let me figure out the game." He's adamant about it. So adamant that he'll take down two easy targets and replace that target with his friend. I mean, it doesn't get more arrogant than that. Hey, you're going to be safe. We have the numbers, even though there's nothing that proves that. I mean, this guy is like, he's an outlier. I mean, he's just different. So, is it the worst move in BB history? Of course, I would like to be the first to say that it is. But I wouldn't say that without looking at every bad move in BB history first. But obviously, that'll take hours of research. I'm not going that far, but I will say on the outside, it does feel like the worst move. And only time will tell. And what can only make this worse is if Daniel is the next person to go on the block. Outside of that very first HOH competition, Daniel has all but disappeared from Veto and HOH competitions. I haven't seen Daniel in the top 5 of any of these competitions in such a while. So I would argue that Daniel has already peaked. Oh my God. He's already peaked, and he started to flatline at the worst possible moment. Man, this Leftovers Alliance is going to be epic if they make it all the way through. If they can stop hanging around each other, if Michael doesn't pull Taylor and Brittany away, if Kyle doesn't get pulled away by Alyssa, it's a lot of ifs here. But the point is, I would have to say, as of this moment, Daniel is certainly in the runnings for worst BB move of all time. I've never seen this before. And you know what happens next? Because I've already said this in my last episode, in my preview of tomorrow. I think that HOH will go to Kyle, Michael, or Joseph, which means that the power will stay on the leftover side. Now, I have to say this. Two things are going for the leftovers that I have to make note of. Number one, they have such a large group. You know, very rarely do you have an alliance of 7 people when the house only has about 14, 15 people. I mean, they have an alliance of 7. And then they also have these plus ones, that being Terrence. And as you saw with Michael, they were trying to bring in Indy, right? Yeah, bring in Indy. And then also Kyle has Alyssa. So when you think about it, you have the core 7 members. But as far as plus ones, you got Indy. Michael indicated that. You also have Alyssa because she's connected to Kyle. And then you also have Terrence because he's connected to everybody because nobody's connected to him. By default, Terrence is a part of the leftovers connection. So you got 10 players all on the same alliance. so funny. So of those 10 players, 7 know about each other. And of those 7 players, 3 know about each other. That being Michael, Brittany, and Taylor. So this is the craziest thing, man. This is a very metacognitive season, and dare I say, I'm holding out to whether or not I believe this is a strategic season. I was very critical of Monty's move, very critical, but to watch the way that it plays out, I have to say it was almost masterful. And it's weird because I've had that's not common for me. I'm usually able to kind of figure things out, but the way that Monty's nominations have fallen out, it's almost perfect. It doesn't get any better. The only person is not perfect for, in my opinion, long term is Kyle because he doesn't throw it. But you know, that's just my opinion. Yes. And then if that's the case, if Kyle, Michael, or Joseph win the HOH tomorrow, who are they going to take a wild guess at who they're going to put up? They're not going to put up Terrence. Terrence is not a threat to anybody. And this is why it's always best to lay low in the beginning of the game because, believe it or not, the best players go home first. I mean, look at who left. Paloma. Paloma was a strategic mastermind. Pooch. I had Pooch picked to be the winner of BB24. Pooch had the All-American look, and it wasn't a problem until he opened his mouth. And then after her was Ameerah. Ameerah was clearly a winner. She was going to win this thing. You kidding me? Ameerah was easily picked, could have easily won this season. And then you got Nicole. Nicole is a terror. Okay, I am somebody who every time I see Nicole's face pop on the screen, I get a little scared. She is terrifying in a game of Big Brother. So, you know, 4 strong players have already left. Somebody's going to want to take a shot at the first HOH. Somebody, right? Daniel has already put himself on that pedestal. And once Nicole is gone, he's going to be shivering in the cold. So that may be his only solace. They might, you know, save him only because they feel like he's just no threat at this point. He lost his left arm. But I don't know if that's the case. I think everybody will still see enough there. Because I'll tell you something. If they don't take out Daniel next, that would be a problem for me. I feel like if I can look at the HOH nominations for the next 3 weeks, if I can just see the paper, the future, you know, I got a time machine or whatever. If I didn't see Daniel next, I would be concerned because I'm not sure who else you target. You're not going to target Alyssa. You're not going to target Indy. You could, but you're not. You're not going to target Terrence. So who are you targeting if it's not Daniel? Yeah. And they better take him out because Daniel appears to be someone with a very, very mean streak. And I don't mean that because of his hair. All right. This guy seems to have like a long memory. And you better believe if you take on Nicole, if you touch Nicole, you saw what he did when Taylor gave Nicole some positive advice. Hey, you know, put your mental health first and save yourself. You would think Daniel would have said, hey, you know, she's right. Are you okay? You're good. No, Daniel, he went into a rage. Like, how dare you? America's watching. Like, he went off. So if you can give Nicole positive advice and Daniel go off, what do you think he's going to do when you kick her out the house? I mean, any guesses here? This guy is going to be like a wounded animal. He's going to know his number is up, and he's going to call complete BS. In fact, I'll make a prediction now. The Leftovers Alliance will no longer be able to move in secret after tomorrow because by that point, Daniel would have already figured it out. Ameerah's gone. Now Alyssa's gone. He's next. He would have to know that. He could. So he's going to have to go hard in the HOH competition. And if it's something like, you know, look at this screen, how many did you see? Those kind of HOH competitions, he has a very strong chance of winning. He's not my top 3 to win it, but still, I think he has a chance. If it's physical, no shot. But that's what I have. Thank you for tuning in with me. I will be right glued to the screen tomorrow at 9. And once it's over, I'll give my thoughts. And I appreciate you all for rocking with me. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.